Tonight on CFTK-TV News, a tanker is bound for Asia after loading Canada's first cargoes of LNG, a family's fight to have their daughter's life-saving drug funded, and local residents reflect on what being Canadian means to them.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Hello, and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday, July 2nd, 2025. I'm Jaylene Matthews. We'll begin tonight with our news that's local to the Northwest. A tanker is now bound for Asia after loading Canada's first cargoes of liquefied natural gas. The first shipment from the LNG Canada facility in Kitimat began its journey yesterday aboard the gas log Glasgow. Premier David Eby says the shipment will go to international markets around the world and will be a major step in making BC and Canada more economically independent from its main trading partner, the U.S. The Premier says the project will bring in billions of dollars over the next 40 years. Kitimat Mayor Phil Germuth said it's taken about a decade to see the startup, which he says will bring a long-term economic boost to the region. And Canada Day has come and gone, marking the country's 158th year, leaving behind a blend of mixed emotions. While celebrations unfolded across the Northwest and Canada, some locals shared thoughtful reflections and differing opinions on what the day means to them. CFTK-TV's Helen Asante reports.
For many in the Northwest, this Canada Day was about remembering the past, coming together in the present, and looking towards a future of greater understanding and unity. Here in Terrace, every year, events at the Heritage Park offers a space for remembrance, particularly in honor of Indigenous children and the legacy of residential schools. But Canada Day wasn't without complexity. Some community members expressed mixed emotions, reflecting on the country's ongoing relationship with Indigenous people and the broader meaning of national celebration.
A nation that's kind of been founded on the cultural assimilation and genocide of a whole group of people. I mean, back home where I'm from, Newfoundland, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Beothuk people, but they were one of the only First Nations groups in Canada that got totally wiped out during colonization. Like, there's not a single Beothuk person left living alive. So, Canada Day to me just represents the celebration of a country that's founded on some pretty terrible stuff, some pretty bloody history. So I don't observe it. I observe like Indigenous Peoples Day and Indigenous Peoples Month. Yeah.
I no longer feel for it. When I was a kid, I used to feel for it. I used to wave the flags, go celebrating at camping. I used to carry pride with it, but it's dead now. After all that, as I got older, I've learned what Canada did and what the genocide was, and what it did to the Canadian people, the first peoples, and it ruined my whole idea of it. The diversity still stands. That I can stand behind. I can stand behind diversity, not Canada.
To me, it's a celebration of appreciating all cultures and recognizing the importance of the Indigenous people and learning their history and their culture.
I think that the history of Canada is more complicated. I have to look at it. I don't really see Canada being only 158 years old. Canada has been here, people have been here for thousands of years, and it's learning that.
Helen Asante, CFTK-TV News.
And various events that commemorated Canada Day were held throughout the Northwest. In Terrace, the city's fire department put on their yearly pancake breakfast event at the fire hall with the purpose of raising money for the BC Professional Firefighters Burn Fund, and this year they were able to raise about $8,000. Kitimat's River Lodge Recreation Centre was also home to various food, craft, and business vendors, plus a concert event, while their downtown area had a picnic breakfast of their own, as well as their annual Kinsman Canada Day Parade. And as for Smithers, their main celebratory event took place at Beauville Square, featured their own live music, free poutine, and ice cream, in addition to a late afternoon foam and dance party. And the Terrace RCMP have released public information about the most notable calls they received during the final days of June and Canada Day. Yesterday afternoon, an officer saw a vehicle depart from a residence that was familiar to police, and eventually a traffic stop was initiated on the vehicle. Despite the driver's attempts to leave the scene, confirmed his identity, and after searching his vehicle, they discovered several quantities of suspected cocaine and fentanyl. The man was then arrested for possession of a controlled substance. In another incident, Terrace RCMP were notified of an incident on Benner Street where a woman had threatened a group of teenagers with a firearm after they'd been playing games near her property. The incident occurred at approximately 11 p.m. The youth were reported to have been playing a game of manhunt in the neighborhood, but ran to get a parent after the incident occurred. A parent came outside to confront the woman, who was later arrested by RCMP. Charges were approved for possession of a weapon for a dangerous purpose, careless storage of a weapon, and unlawfully pointing a firearm and assault. And from the Kitimat's RCMP's weekly report, one highlighted incident included the RCMP getting word that a dump truck had collided with some utility wires in the Strawberry Meadows neighborhood. The officer that investigated this case determined that the collision happened because the dump truck's box wasn't all the way down when it was leaving a property. The driver of the vehicle was given a violation ticket for careless driving, and the truck will also be inspected. Coming up next, a family's fight for life-saving funding. Down in Vancouver, it was a very special Canada Day for a group of new Canadians. Here's CTV's Craig Krause.
A flood of red and white swept through the streets of downtown Vancouver to celebrate Canada Day.
Love it. I love it.
A nation that means something different for many in the crowd.
I love it. There's maple syrup, there's poutine, there's everything.
It's everything from gender equality, racial equality, religious freedom.
For them, Canada is home. And while they soaked up the festivities outside of Canada Place,
oh, Canada,
it was here, inside one of the ballrooms, where 30 people from around the world were taking their oath of Canadian citizenship.
I'm feeling really, really nice about it. And earlier I was Indian, and now I'm Canadian and Indian both combined.
I don't even have the words. It's just, there's so much emotion in me right now.
A long process for some, but worth the wait.
I think that every immigrant can say that it's a very long journey, and everybody comes with their stories and their own struggles, but it's a great day to celebrate.
Canada Day at Canada Place. I don't think it gets any more Canadian than that, so yeah, feels really special.
A group that started the day as strangers now will always be connected as fellow Canadians. Craig Crow, CTV News, Vancouver.
Yukon's Wildland Fire Management says it has secured extra support from firefighters across North America to help protect communities and infrastructure from wildfires in the territory. It says 10 firefighters are expected to arrive from PEI today. The territory also says an 11-person wildfire crew from Oregon is already on site, but another 8-person incident management team is also en route to Yukon from the state. Yukon's latest wildfire update said there are about 85 active fires burning in the territory, most of which are located in the Dawson and Mayo fire centers. The young BC family that's grappling with cut funding for their daughter's unaffordable life-saving drug are still fighting to have the decision overturned. Here's CTV's Yvonne Raymond.
A week since Charlie Pollock's last publicly funded infusion to treat a rare disease, her family is spending time together while leaders around them add to their advocacy.
I am just absolutely appalled and heartbroken for the family, and also, as an electorate, I'm absolutely flabbergasted at the government's decision and choice to do this. I want for Charlie's medication to be reinstated immediately, and the government has the ability to do that.
Charlie's Conservative MP is calling on the Premier after the NDP government cut funding to the $800,000 drug. Jeff Kibble wants the child's full medical team included on any decisions related to her care, and says he's written to the Federal Ministry of Health urging intervention. BC's Premier says the province has already been in touch.
The Minister of Health wrote to Health Canada. Health Canada did a review. They said that their protocol was up to date and included the latest research. and that is, I think, the appropriate course of action.
Come meet her. Redo your review. See her in person. She is not bedridden. She is not a vegetable. She is not a lost cause. All of this because of Brenera.
The founder of a patient advocacy group worries about the signal a case like this one presents.
It's upsetting for me because I do have a personal connection to it. I have 2 children who also have an ultra-rare disease that receive a biologic like Charlie does, but in a different way. And I feel this decision sets a very dangerous precedent for all children of rare disease, for anyone receiving a life-altering or life-sustaining medication. This says that the government can take away your medication without even consulting your medical team.
The Ministry of Health says clinical information from Charlie's doctor was part of the review. Her family remains adamant their terminally ill child has thrived with Brenera.
She has quality of life. You are going to rip that from her.
And their clock is ticking for another dose. Yvonne Raymond, CTV News.
And now let's take a look at your Northwest weather report. Tonight on the North Coast, expect conditions to be mainly cloudy with a 30% chance of showers and a low of 10 degrees. Over the next few days on the North Coast, expect the chance of showers tomorrow, then a nice sunny Friday and clouds coming in for the weekend. Maybe a chance of showers on Sunday and getting into the week. Daily highs around 14-15 degrees. Tonight in the Terrace area, expect it to be mainly cloudy with a 60% chance of showers, a risk of thunderstorm early this evening, winds from the south at 20 kilometers an hour, gusting to 40, becoming light this evening, a low of 9 degrees. Over the next few days in the Terrace area, expect a chance of showers tomorrow, then a mix of sun and clouds Friday, more clouds for the weekend, and a chance of showers on Sunday, clouds getting into next week. Daily highs between 18 and 21 degrees, overnight lows between 10 and 13 degrees. Tonight in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, it's looking partly cloudy with a 60% chance of showers early this evening and a risk of thunderstorms. Fog patches developing before morning, winds from the west at 20 kilometers an hour, becoming light this evening and a low of 5 degrees. Over the next few days in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, expect a chance of showers tomorrow, then a mix of sun and clouds Friday and Saturday, and a sunny Sunday before some clouds come back to start the week. Daily highs from 17 to 24 degrees, overnight lows between 6 and 10 degrees. Checking your highways around the Northwest now. On Highway 16, there's construction in Prince Rupert with a detour in effect, as well as bridge maintenance, line painting, road sweeping, and utility work going on. On Highway 37, watch for bridge construction and maintenance, as well as frost heaves and a material spill. On Highway 37A, there's a section with falling rocks. On the Niska Highway, there's line painting going on. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come, Mark Carney's free trade promise. Welcome back. BC's Health Officer Dr. Bonnie Henry is now also an officer of the Order of Canada. Henry is among 83 Canadians appointed today for her efforts in public health and preventive medicine. A statement from Governor General Mary Simon says that as the provincial health officer, she led BC through the COVID-19 pandemic. Henry is also an author, scholar, and a University of BC clinical associate professor. Free Trade by Canada Day, it was a key cornerstone of Mark Carney's campaign pitch to voters, and on deadline day, experts agree he lived up to his promise. But that doesn't mean the work is done. Experts say if Canada wants to realize the economic benefits promised on the campaign trail, provinces and the feds will have to work together on much more. CTV's Colton Prale explains.
158 years ago, a few provinces bet on a big idea, that they'd be stronger together than they ever could be apart.
Working together to build one economy, Mark Carney was graded on his economic cornerstone. In its annual report card, the Canadian Federation of Independent Business gave the federal government a B for its work on internal trade, but would upgrade to an A after it dropped all federal free trade exemptions Monday. Ontario and Nova Scotia are the top performing provinces, while Quebec and Newfoundland are the worst.
That's not all of the work. It's really the policy changes and the regulatory work and the standards changes that has to come about for free trade to actually take place.
One of the biggest moves forward was in Carney's Major Projects Bill, C5, legislating a push for increased mutual recognition, where Ottawa will accept one province's standards as equal across the country. Provinces like Ontario, Manitoba, and New Brunswick have already moved to adopt mutual recognition for some alcohol sales, interprovincial labor, and more.
The dialogue, the exchange of data and know-how actually propels towards even better common platforms.
But others are worried.
They're doing this mutual recognition in a way that is going to risk a race to the bottom. So basically the lowest standards in any province being accepted as good enough.
In trucking, that's a concern. Instead, they're hoping the urgency around internal trade will lead to harmonized regulations for oversized cargo, driving restrictions, and rest stops on major highways.
If we want the inputs to go and the freight and the materials to do these nation building projects, this is another foundational piece. It's not rocket science to get this fixed.
While Ottawa focuses on reducing regulations, some economists say the best way to help Canadian trade is to build roads, rails, and ports as quickly as possible.
Turning to the markets now, Canada's main stock index finished slightly higher today, while U.S. stock markets were mixed. The Canadian dollar gained just over 1/10 cent. The price of gold rose by $9.90. Oil gained $2. Natural gas rose by 5 cents. Aluminum gained $11. In Toronto, the TSX was up almost 13 points. The Venture Index gained 19. In New York, the Nasdaq was up 190 points and the Dow Jones dropped almost 11 points. Still ahead, new developments in the Sean Diddy Combs case. A man and a woman, both 80 years old, are dead in what police say was a murder-suicide in Abbotsford. Police say the bodies were found Monday night when officers responded to a report of a dispute in a home in the city. A statement from the Integrated Homicide Investigation Team says the man and woman lived together in that home. They say they believe the deaths involved intimate partner violence. The team says there are no outstanding suspects and no ongoing risk to the public. New developments now in the Sean Diddy Combs case, and still a lot of unknowns. Here's ABC's Aaron Katersky.
A cliffhanger in the Sean Diddy Combs trial, the jury revealing a partial verdict on 4 of the 5 criminal counts against the music mogul. Jurors sending a note saying there are unpersuadable opinions on both sides, the group unable to decide the first count, the racketeering conspiracy charge. But the note saying the jury is prepared to release a verdict on the 2 counts of sex trafficking and 2 counts of transportation for prostitution.
But what this means for Sean Combs being stuck on the racketeering conspiracy, we're not sure, and we don't know which way they're going on the other counts, based solely on Combs's demeanor as the note was being read in court. He doesn't seem to think this is going very well for him.
Combs at one point wiping his eyes and sitting with his chin resting on his hand as his lawyers huddled around him, his family watching from the second row.
He has 9 defense attorneys. They surrounded him when you saw him sit back into his chair like the gravity of the moment. We see Nicole Westmoreland, his attorney from Atlanta, literally rubbing her temples. We see Brian Steele. Whatever is going on with the conversation, you see his eyes are blinking and he's like snapping.
The judge instructing the jury to continue deliberating, urging them keep an open mind and telling them they should not hesitate to change an opinion when convinced that it's erroneous. The racketeering conspiracy charge requires jurors to find Combs committed at least 2 of 8 underlying crimes, such as arson, where prosecutors allege he ordered the firebombing of rapper Kid Cudi's car, or bribery, where they say he tried to pay off a hotel security guard after surveillance cameras captured him attacking his then-girlfriend.
I also believe that they are hung up on whether or not there is a conspiracy. The co-conspirator must agree, and I think that that is something that we have not seen true detail on.
Right.
Although these individuals worked for him, their job was to do the things he asked, and I think that is going to cause a lot of issues within that jury room.
If a verdict is not reached on the racketeering charge, Combs could still face a lengthy prison sentence if he's convicted on the other charges.
A British Columbia researcher says his new study shows nearly 3 dozen documented cases of killer whales attempting to share food with humans. Jared Towers says he has had 2 encounters with killer whales that prompted the study, with the first involving an orca that released a freshly killed seal right beside his boat in 2018, followed by a later similar incident. Towers says both cases saw the whales leave their prey floating for a few moments before taking it again, adding the animals may be testing humans' capacity to respond. We leave you tonight with a work of art that covers the influences of one man's life. Here's CTV's Sarah Plowman.
These are the first 2 panels we did.
No words were used for Brian McKinnon's conversation piece. Face upon face on the front of his house. By now, people have heard.
Wow. Gerald, good to meet you. Happy Canada Day.
And want to see it themselves.
I like the colors and everything. It just sticks right out nice.
The idea sprouted from the artist's imagination. Celebrate those who had an impact on his life by digitally painting them and putting their faces on panels. Meet these 250.
All of these faces are jazzed up versions of people that I've known throughout my life. I wanted to make a really powerful work that people would respond to the instant they saw it.
The faces are mostly Canadian and mostly positive, but some are angry. Thankfully, that's not how McKinnon's wife felt when he surprised her with the new addition.
It's absolutely wonderful to me. It's colorful. It brings you joy to look at it.
The artist is a partially retired doctor whose passion has always been projects like this. He's decorated his shutters with toys. That clothesline is actually a sculpture. Inside, work hangs in every room, brightening up all angles. He's played with toys, colors, and shapes, but the physician's biggest fascination is faces.
Well, I think they tell you more about the personality of individuals than any other part of the body do. I think the hands and the movement of our hands do something, but there's nothing like a face, and there's nothing nearly as interesting to me as a human.
Good luck finding yours, though, or his. Is your face here?
I can't tell you.
It's more like a game of guess who. Perhaps that's the point, and a way to engage the artist and onlookers' imaginations. Sarah Plowman, CTV News, Fredericton.
That's our news for now. For more local news, you can visit us at cftktv.com. We're also on YouTube, TikTok, Blue Sky, and X. And you can catch Open Connections weekdays at 5:30 p.m. with Robert Pictou. Thanks for watching and enjoy your evening.